Have you ever noticed the chilling power of your own silence? How a man can become utterly obsessed with what you don't say, far more than with your words. It is a fascinating and deeply spiritual phenomenon. While other women talk endlessly, desperately trying to capture male attention, you can command it all by being quiet, becoming the absolute center of his universe. You will see him watch you, frantically trying to decipher your thoughts, consumed with wondering what you're feeling. He will become addicted to the profound mystery you project without even trying. But why does this happen? What is this forgotten power your silence holds that draws him in like a moth to a spiritual flame? The legendary psychologist Carl Jung discovered something truly revolutionary about the male mind, a secret so powerful that most women will go their entire lives without ever knowing it. This isn't manipulation, it is a form of ancient feminine wisdom that once implemented will forever change the way men perceive you. As we embark on this journey, I want to see how far this powerful knowledge is spreading across the globe. Please take a moment to tell me in the comments what city or country you are watching from. It's truly inspiring to see how far these teachings can reach. And if this is the kind of deep, transformative content that resonates with your soul, please support this channel by hitting the like button and, most importantly, subscribing. It's a fact that a huge number of people who watch our videos aren't subscribed, and by joining us, you ensure you won't miss out on future secrets that could change your life. Today, I will reveal precisely why your silence holds a magnetic power he simply cannot comprehend, but responds to instinctively. You will see how this knowledge has transformed thousands of women, allowing them to communicate more with fewer words. I will show you exactly how to awaken this dormant power that already exists inside you. Stay until the very end, because I will share 3 specific, critical moments where your silence becomes a force so potent it will awaken an emotional addiction to you that no other woman, no matter how beautiful or young, will ever be able to break. This is the truth others spend years searching for, only to use strategies that push away the very man they desire. Have you ever wondered why some women seem to have an inexplicable magnetism over men? It's not their physical beauty, it's not their youth, it's not their achievements. It's something much deeper and more ancestral. It's the power of conscious silence. Think about the last time you were with a man you were interested in. Maybe it was a first date, or perhaps you've been together for years. Did you feel that almost desperate need to fill every silence, to explain every thought, to justify every emotion? It's natural. Society has programmed us to believe that we must keep the conversation flowing, be entertaining, show constant interest. But what Jung discovered in his years of studying the human psyche is the exact opposite. Feminine silence activates a primordial psychological mechanism in a man that connects him directly with his unconscious. When a woman masters the art of silence, she becomes a screen onto which he projects his deepest desires, his aspirations, his fears, and his dreams. Jung called it the anima projection. Every man carries within him an unconscious image of the feminine, formed since his childhood. This internal image constantly seeks to manifest itself in the outer world, and it is precisely in the space of feminine silence that this projection finds its perfect canvas. Imagine this. You are having dinner with him. The conversation flows, but suddenly, in response to one of his questions, you don't answer immediately. You simply smile slightly, maintain eye contact for a few seconds longer than usual, and then subtly look away. In that small moment of silence, you have created a magnetic vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum, and the male mind immediately begins to fill it with projections, with interpretations, with curiosity. In that instant, you have gone from being a predictable person to becoming a mystery that must be solved. And men, by nature, are problem solvers. An unsolved mystery is like a thorn in their mind that they cannot ignore. But this power goes far beyond simply creating intrigue. Conscious silence connects you with an ancestral feminine wisdom that we have lost in our modern, noise-obsessed society. The great priestesses, the queens, and the most influential women in history mastered this art. Think of Cleopatra. Her power resided not only in her beauty, but in her ability to create spaces of silence where Mark Antony and Julius Caesar could project their deepest desires. She didn't need to speak constantly to prove her worth. Her presence, enhanced by her strategic silences, communicated more than 1,000 words. The problem is that we have been conditioned to believe that we must constantly explain ourselves, that our value lies in how much we talk, how much we share, how much we justify ourselves. Every time you feel that urge to fill a silence with unnecessary words, you are giving away your power. Have you ever found yourself explaining why you feel a certain way, justifying your decisions, trying to convince a man of your worth through words? We have all done it. It is the conditioned reflex of a society that has taught us that we must win space with our voice when, in reality, we already occupy all the necessary space with our presence. Jung understood that feminine silence is not passivity, it is not submission, it is power in its purest state. It is the ability to observe before reacting, to feel before speaking, to know before expressing. It is the power of interiority, of depth, of intuition that observes and understands beyond words. When you master the art of silence, you are accessing that primordial power that has been transmitted from woman to woman for millennia, before modern society convinced us that we had to compete with men on their own turf, that of words, explanations, and logical justifications. But let's get practical. How can you implement this knowledge in your current relationship or with that man you are interested in? How do you turn your silence into an irresistible magnet that draws him to you? The first step is to understand that silence is not simply not speaking. Conscious silence is a state of full presence. It is being completely present, receptive, attentive, but without the compulsion to fill the space with words. It is a living, magnetic silence that communicates more than any elaborate speech. Think of your silence as a deep, calm pond. Words are like stones you throw into that pond, creating ripples that disturb its surface. Sometimes those ripples are necessary, but the real magic, the real power, lies in the quiet depth of the water when no stone disturbs its surface. Start by practicing small moments of conscious silence in your interaction with him. When he asks you a question, allow yourself a pause before answering. It's not an uncomfortable or artificial pause. It's a moment of receptivity where you truly absorb his question, feel it, process it, and then respond from a place of authenticity and presence. Observe how he reacts to these small spaces of silence. You will notice something fascinating. The more comfortable you are with silence, the more uncomfortable he becomes. And in that discomfort, he begins to reveal layers of himself that he normally keeps hidden. He starts to try harder, to open up more, to show more vulnerability. Why does this happen? Because silence creates a void that he feels the need to fill. It is an almost instinctive response, and in that filling, he shows you who he really is, beyond the social masks and rehearsed answers. But there are 3 specific moments where the power of your silence is magnified exponentially. 3 situations where your silence becomes a force so powerful that it can completely reorient the dynamic of your relationship. The first moment is during a conflict. When an argument arises, our natural tendency is to defend ourselves, explain our position, justify our actions or feelings. We talk more, we talk faster, we raise our tone. It is an automatic response based on fear. Fear of not being understood, fear of losing, fear of being abandoned. But imagine this. In the midst of a heated argument, while he is expressing his frustration or disagreement, you do not enter the game of immediate defense. Instead, you maintain eye contact, breathe deeply, and allow a receptive silence. It's not a hostile or passive-aggressive silence. It's a silence that says, I am listening to you completely. I am here, present, absorbing your words without needing to interrupt or defend myself immediately. What happens next is almost magical. By not encountering the expected resistance, his combative energy has nowhere to bounce. It's like throwing a punch into the air. The force of his argument loses momentum in the face of your serene and receptive presence. And in that space, something changes. His defensive posture begins to soften. His tone modulates. Often, he himself will begin to see the holes in his own argument without you having to point them out. When you finally speak, after that conscious silence, your words have a weight and a penetration that no heated speech could achieve. You have created a space where real communication can occur, beyond the ego and defensive positions. Jung understood this mechanism deeply. In his studies on male psychology, he observed that man is conditioned for verbal combat, for the assertion of his position through words. When a woman refuses to enter that territory and remains in her center through conscious silence, it completely throws him off and activates a deeper level of communication in him. The second moment where your silence becomes extraordinarily powerful is after intimacy. That post-intimacy space is sacred and reveals much about the power dynamics in a relationship. Many women feel the need to fill that space with chatter, questions, seeking validation or reassurance. Have you found yourself asking, "Was it good? Did you like it?" Or simply filling the silence with trivial conversation after an intimate moment? It's understandable. The vulnerability we feel in those moments makes us seek reassurance through words. But the power lies in silence. After intimacy, a comfortable, satisfied, present silence communicates a confidence and self-assurance that no words could express. It says, "I am complete in myself. I don't need your verbal validation. I know who I am and the value of what we shared." That post-intimacy silence creates a space where he can feel without the pressure of having to express. And it is precisely in that space that true male emotional connection arises, which is much quieter and less verbal than the female one. Men process emotions differently than women. While we tend to process through verbal expression, they process internally, in silence. When you respect that process by allowing silence after intimacy, you are honoring his masculine nature and creating a space where he can connect with you on a much deeper level. This post-intimacy silence has an addictive effect on a man. He begins to associate being with you with that feeling of peace, of complete acceptance, of being able to be without having to prove or explain. It is a precious gift in a world where men are constantly required to explain and justify their emotions. The third moment, where your silence becomes your most powerful ally, is when he shares something important with you. It could be an achievement, a dream, a fear, a vulnerability. Our natural tendency, especially as women who have been socialized to be supportive, is to respond immediately with affirmations, advice, or by relating his experience to one of our own. But the real power lies in fully receiving what he shares before responding, in creating a space of silence where his revelation can exist fully, be honored, be received in its entirety. This receptive silence says, "What you are sharing is so important that it deserves to be fully received before I respond." Imagine he shares a professional achievement with you. Instead of immediately congratulating him and moving on to the next topic, allow yourself a moment of silence where you truly absorb what this means to him. Perhaps a gentle nod, a genuine smile, but without a rush to fill the space with words. When you finally speak, your words come from a place of deep understanding, not an automatic response. Or imagine he shares a fear, an insecurity. Your attentive silence, without judgment, without a rush to solve or advise, becomes a sanctuary where his vulnerability can exist without shame. Few gifts are as precious to a man as the space to be vulnerable without being immediately fixed or advised. Jung understood that in these moments of personal revelation, receptive silence activates what he called the individuation process in man. It is a process of psychological integration where the fragmented parts of the self begin to unify. Your conscious silence facilitates this process, allowing him to integrate his experience through your attentive reception. These three moments, during conflict, after intimacy, and when receiving his personal revelations, are portals where your conscious silence acquires a transformative power in the relationship. They are opportunities to activate that positive addiction to your presence that Jung identified as central to sustained male attraction. But there is a fundamental challenge: our own discomfort with silence. We live in a culture of constant noise, of perpetual distraction, of incessant stimulation. Silence confronts us with ourselves, with our insecurities, with our deepest fears. Have you found yourself talking nervously when you are with a man who attracts you? Filling every pause for fear that he might think you are boring? Over-explaining your emotions or decisions for fear of being misinterpreted? All of these are manifestations of our discomfort with silence. The first step to mastering the power of silence is to befriend silence in your own life. Start by dedicating small moments each day to being in silence with yourself. No music, no television, no phone. Just you, your breath, your presence. At first, it may be uncomfortable, even distressing. Our mind is conditioned to constant noise, but gradually, you will begin to discover the richness that exists in silence, the clarity that emerges, the intuition that awakens, the peace that is revealed. As you befriend silence in your personal life, it becomes much more natural to incorporate it into your interactions with men. It no longer arises from strategy, but from authenticity. It's not something you do, it's something you are. A woman who has reclaimed the ancestral power of conscious silence. There is a concept in Jungian psychology that is particularly relevant here: synchronicity. Jung defined it as meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by conventional causality. He observed that when a person is centered in their own inner power, synchronicities occur that seem to align the outer world with their inner world. When you master the art of conscious silence, you begin to experience these synchronicities in your relationship with men. Suddenly, he calls just when you were thinking of him. He seeks you out precisely when you have found your center and do not desperately need him. He opens up emotionally just when you have stopped pressuring him to do so. This is not magic, although it may seem so. It is the natural result of having accessed a level of communication that transcends words, a communication that occurs on the plane of energy, of presence, of the unsaid but deeply felt. And here is the most beautiful paradox. The less you speak, the more he listens to you. The less you explain, the more he understands you. The less you pursue, the more he seeks you. It is the law of inverse proportionality in human relationships that Jung studied extensively. I remember the case of Mariana, a 42-year-old woman who attended one of my workshops on the power of feminine silence. She had been in a stagnant relationship for 3 years with a man who was becoming increasingly distant, less communicative, less emotionally present. She had tried everything: talking to him, explaining her needs, asking for changes, even threatening to end the relationship. Nothing worked. After understanding the principles we have explored today, Mariana decided to conduct a radical experiment. For 2 weeks, she would practice conscious silence in the 3 key moments we have discussed. She would significantly reduce her need to explain, justify, convince. She would fully inhabit her own silence. The results were astounding. At first, her partner was confused, even a little anxious about this change. He was used to her filling all the spaces, solving all the problems, initiating all the deep conversations. But gradually, something began to change. He began to seek her out more, to ask her how she was, what she was thinking, what she was feeling. He began to open up about his own fears and insecurities that he had previously kept hidden. The entire dynamic of the relationship was transformed in a matter of weeks. What had happened? By reclaiming the power of her silence, Mariana had created the necessary space for him to move towards her. She had interrupted the pattern of pursuit-withdrawal that dominates so many relationships. She had accessed that frequency of communication that transcends words and reaches the male unconscious directly. This story is not unique. I have seen this transformation time and time again in women who learn to inhabit their silence with presence and power. It is not manipulation. It is not a trick. It is simply accessing an ancestral truth about human interaction that we have forgotten in our hyperverbal society. But perhaps you are wondering, isn't this a step backward? Haven't women fought for generations for the right to be heard, to express ourselves, to occupy space with our voice? It is a valid and profound question. The answer is that conscious silence is not the historical silencing that women have suffered. Imposed silencing comes from fear and oppression. Conscious silence comes from strength and choice. One diminishes you, the other expands you. One makes you invisible, the other makes you magnetic. I am not suggesting that you never speak, that you do not express your needs, that you do not set your boundaries with clarity. Quite the contrary. When you speak from the power of silence, your words have a force and a clarity that cuts through all defenses. It is precisely because you do not waste your verbal energy on the trivial that your words acquire an extraordinary power when you choose to use them. Jung expressed it beautifully when he said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." Conscious silence is that looking inward that awakens you to your own feminine power. And that power is exactly what activates the positive addiction in the man. It's not addiction in the pathological sense, but in the sense of a deep and irresistible attraction to your energy field. He cannot explain it logically. He cannot rationalize it. He simply feels that being in your presence connects him with something larger than himself, with a dimension of experience that he does not find in other places. Have you noticed how men can become obsessed with women who seem self-contained, women who are not constantly seeking validation, approval, or attention? It is this principle in action. The woman who inhabits her silence with power becomes a mystery he longs to solve, a depth he longs to explore, a sanctuary to which he longs to return. And here is the final beauty of this knowledge. You don't have to fundamentally change who you are. You don't have to learn complicated techniques or memorize specific phrases. You just have to remember what you already know in the deepest part of your being, the transformative power of consciously inhabited silence. Start today in your next interaction with him. Allow moments of conscious silence. Observe what happens not only in him, but also in you. Feel the power that arises when you don't rush to fill every space, when you allow your presence, rather than your words, to communicate who you really are. Remember the 3 key moments: during conflict, after intimacy, and when receiving his personal revelations, your portals to a new dimension of connection and personal power. And as you practice this ancestral art, remember Jung's words: the meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Your conscious silence is the catalyst that allows this alchemical transformation in your relationship. You have not simply reached the end of a video. You have arrived at a powerful threshold. This moment is the true beginning of a new reality for you, the start of relating to men from your full, authentic feminine power. This is a path that does not ask you to shrink, to overexert, or to drain yourself emotionally. It is a path that finally allows you to be more of who you truly are, not less. If this ancient knowledge has resonated deep within your soul, if you felt that click of recognition when a truth is remembered rather than learned, then you are part of the silent revolution that is happening right now, woman by woman, heart by heart. To solidify this powerful shift within you, I have a small but potent request. Go to the comments right now and type the single word, presence. This is more than a comment. It is a declaration to yourself and to the universe that you are choosing to embody this magnetic power. I want to witness your awakening. And as you are there, please grant this video a like to help this wisdom find others who need it, and subscribe to become a part of our circle. An incredible number of you are transformed by these videos, but haven't yet subscribed. And doing so ensures you never miss the next critical piece of your journey. Do not miss the video appearing on your screen now. We will delve even deeper into the hidden Jungian patterns that control your romantic life. Click it and continue your ascent into personal power. Your heart will thank you for it. Always remember, your silence is not absence. It is presence in its most sacred and powerful form. It is the space where his devotion to you flourishes effortlessly. And it is the most profound gift you can ever give to him, and more importantly, to yourself.